everybody, welcome to Fab Fit Friday. This is an exciting day because I tested my wrap top on my body and I'm kind of excited because it's super close. This project has been, I've been working on it, and technically I probably should have made a muslin to try on before I actually made a finished top, but I really wanted to really finish, like line the pieces and everything, so I did, and I'm going to show you some of the quick tweaks I need to do in a minute. Hi Carol, thank you for joining. Let me see if I can get rid of okay, I'm just checking here to see if I have everything set up right. I think I do. Okay, so if you've been following along with me, I've been working on this wrap top and I've been trying to fit my G-cup bust to make a wrap top that doesn't gape away from me and it looks nice. And I'm really close. You can see I have it on. Here, let me just make it so you can see the whole thing. Alright, so see, this is how it fits. Okay, so you can see it's really close. My ditto form is really close to my shape. And I don't like the fact that I have a little cleavage showing, so I feel like I want to fuss with it. I may actually, I think what I'm going to do is shorten the straps a little bit, or this neckline edge, to pull this up a little bit, to get it a little bit higher, because I really would prefer no cleavage. But all in all, though, if you compare how it fits me to how it fits my ditto form, let me show you that. You can see it's really close. I didn't make the whole back and everything in the bottom for my ditto form, but I did sew it up in the same fabric just so you could see. So first of all, super excited about my ditto form because I can clearly see now that it's so close to my body, and I totally designed the whole top on here. I never tried it on until I finished this and sewed it. So super happy about that. Hi Janet. Alright, let me see. We've got, Carol says, I'll have to catch up on the other parts, but this topic sounds interesting. Yay! Hi Diane. Thank you for joining me. I'm sporting my top. See? Alright, so I just made a, let me just stand up so you can see. I just made a plain, loose fitting bottom. Okay, so that's how it looks, on the bottom. This is a nice soft rayon jersey. Hi PG, hi Janie. Thank you guys for finding me. Just, I guess, an update. There's still been no movement on fixing my Facebook, so I'm sorry about that, but I'm kind of losing hope that it'll get fixed, but we'll see. Maybe next week. I don't know, we'll see. Alright, so what I want to do is show you what I did in the construction of this, and I also want to show you how to sew a dart on the serger, because what I decided, let me show you my final piece here. I'm going to switch to my picture-in-picture. Okay, so you can see here what I ended up doing was I cut out all the darts, and I like doing my darts this way because then you don't have to mark anything. So after I drew my darts in, I just added a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and that allows me to cut it out without needing to mark darts after. And so then I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to do that, I have the cut edge, I can just do them on the serger. So I'm kind of excited to show you how to do that, because then on a material like this, rayon jersey, this is like a, you know, like a rayon challis, you really need to finish your edges because they ravel. So I did them on the serger, and let me just show you. I'll take this one down so you can see. Oh, actually, these I sewed by, so my first attempt I actually sewed by machine, so I can't show you on there. But here's what we'll do. I'm going to take this piece of fabric here, and it's not big enough to cut out the whole thing, but what I'm going to do is, let me just show you how I would cut out a dart. So let's pretend we were cutting this out. So I'll just put some pattern weights here. Let me just see. Hi, Jay Kelly. She says, hi, Jen, such a nice looking top on you. Thank you so much. I'm excited. I am going to rework the top so it fits a little bit better and there's a little less cleavage showing, because I feel like it's a little more open than I would like, but it doesn't gape away from me, which I'm really excited about. So here's my rotary cutter. All right, so I'm just going to cut this out just so I have some darts to show you how to do this. And it would work with the long dart or these short darts. Let me just... So I'm just using my rotary cutter, see, and I'm just cutting the darts out. Okay. All right, so now I have some darts I can play with. See, and here's the beauty of it. They're right here, but there's no need to mark. So let me get my serger set up so I can show you. Let me just plug this puppy in. All right, so now let me just, oops. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I am going to fold my dart, and another thing about cutting your darts out is you don't have to worry about if your dart legs are lining up. So I am just going to fold this dart in half, like this, okay, and then I'm going to stick it under there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch along the cut edge of the dart. I'm not going to cut anything off, but I'm going to sew down, and then as I come to the tip, I'm just going to continue to sew right off the edge of the fabric. So watch how this looks. All right, so here's what it looks like. Okay, and if you've seen my video where I show how to take apart a seam without using without using a seam ripper, what you do is you find the needle threads and you pull those out and the whole seam comes apart. And actually, this is such a short seam, why don't I show you that first, and then I'll sew it back up and show you the opposite thing. So like, let's pretend we didn't like the way this dart came out. I'm a little off over here. So what you want to do is trim your tail short and then tease apart the threads, and you're going to end up with 2 long ones and 2 short ones. Okay, so the long ones are your looper threads, and the short ones are the needles. So if I go in and pull the short ones, they pull right out. Okay, and then the whole thing comes apart. So see how I just took that apart really easily? So that's how you take apart a serge seam without using a seam ripper. Let me just quickly sew it again, and then I'll show you how to finish the tip of the dart or secure the tip of the dart. All right, let me just see here. BMAC1 says, love shortcuts that actually work. I do whatever I can on the serger except when I'm making blazers. Jay Kelly says that's a great tip. I really, you know, it really is a time saver, because not only are you not picking at it with your seam ripper, but then you're not picking at all the individual threads. It comes out all in one thread. So that's one of the nice things about that. All right, so let me do this again here. And I will say it does take a little bit of practice. So if you want to try doing these on your serger, doing darts on your serger, just cut some scrap fabric and just practice. So again, let's sew this up. And when I get, the knife is now past the tip of the dart where the seam allowances are cut. So I'm going to keep the fabric kind of away, and I'm just going to stitch right off the fabric. So what you can see what happened here is the stitching is pulling away or moving away from the edge of the fabric, but I have all these loose loops here. You see them? Let me see if I can make it a little bit tighter. Hold on. There. All right, so let's see if I can show you this a little bit more close up. See how that looks? You can see the serger stitch is actually hanging off the edge of the fabric right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut our tails again pretty close, and then I'm going to tease apart these threads, and you can see now I'm using dark colored thread, but I can easily see which ones are the loopers and which ones are the needles, because these long ones right here, those 2 long ones, those are the loopers, and the needle threads are really tight. I mean, are really short. So we don't want to take this seam out. We want to tighten these looper threads against the edge of the fabric. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick one of them, and I'm going to pull it, and I'm going to do it really slowly. Look what's happening. See how the loops are closing down onto the edge of the fabric? See that, how nice and tidy that looks now? You know, and then what you can do is you can just tie a knot, a loose knot, to secure these tails. So let me do that. So it's right over left and left over right to make a square knot. All right, so now I've secured my tails, and I can just clip that. Let's look at it from the right side. See? It makes a nice dart. And then you don't have the bulk of the dart intake either. You just have that one little serged edge. So that's, you know, that's a cool way to do darts. Let me move my serger out of the way. Jamie says, I really like that. I didn't know how to do that. Well, yay, now you know. This is exciting. All right, so this is my ham. This is my mom's ham. It's older than me, so it's one of my precious sewing tools. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my dart and I'm going to put it on my ham. And the idea is you want to find a place on the ham that kind of agrees with the curve of your dart. So there's a lot of different shapes on this ham. And I'm going to take my iron. I love, love, love my Aliso iron. I love it. I'm in love with my Aliso iron. So I'm just going to do the fabric right at the tip first. I'm just going to give that some steam. And then I'm just going to press my, I'm going to press the dart seam allowance to one direction. Okay, and then I'm going to trap that heat with my hand. Let's turn it around to the right side. So you can see that makes a really nice dart. So now just press it from the top and give it a little steam. So see how nice and smooth that is? Like you can't even really see it on camera. That's how nice and smooth it is. It's right here. The tip of the dart is right there. See? Let me see if I can make it a little bit brighter. There, I could blow out my whites to show you. But you can see that's a really nicely formed dart. All right, so that's, I wanted to show you how to do the dart. The other thing I want to talk about is how I put this together. And to keep this edge from stretching out, I used Sokeezy's fusible stay tape. This stuff is so nice. It is so sheer, and it really does a nice job to prevent edges, especially when you're, cutting out your necklines basically on the bias. This stuff is really cool for protecting those edges. So let me show you how I would apply that. And what I'm going to do here is, on my little sample, we'll pretend this is pretty close. Let me just cut this off here, this little extra part. All right. All right, so this edge right, oops. Oh, I gotta make it bigger, sorry. Okay, so this edge is a very similar shape to the edge of my neckline. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my pressing surface here. And you can see how all these threads are the threads from my rayon. So that's why it's really important to finish your edges. All right, so I'm going to turn this upside down, or wrong side face up. Okay, and you have to be really careful when you do this that you're not stretching it out before you apply your stay tape, because then what you'll do is you'll create stretch and make it permanent. So a good idea would be to take your pattern piece and confirm that it's the same length. Okay, so if this were the real pattern piece, if this was the real pattern piece, I would lay this back on top and just make sure the shape was correct before I applied my stay tape. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this down so the glue side is face down, and I'm not going to put it right on the edge. I want to have it be about 1/8 of an inch from the edge, because when I sew, I want to sew through the tape. And my seam allowance was 1/2 inch, so this tape is 1/2 inch. So if I put it right on the edge, I might miss it in places. So instead, I'm going to position it so it's about 1/8 of an inch away. And you can get that all lined up. And if, you know, if you're like me, I have very rough hands from doing dishes and cleaning and sewing and washing my hands and all that other stuff. It's hard to feel the glue or which side the adhesive's on. So if you have your roll of fusible tape, the glue side is on the underside. So that's how you can know that you're putting it glue side face down if you can't see it or feel it. And actually one of my students told me that tip, so I can't even take credit for that stroke of brilliance. All right, so I've got that cut, and then I'm just going to pat, and I'll do a little steam. Pat, steam, and then this is going to protect that edge from stretching out. You know, once it's adhered, I would let it dry before I let it cool before I pick it up. Let me just see here. Andrea says, I'm late, I forgot about YouTube. Oh, that's okay, Andrea. I'm wearing my top. It's almost perfect. I'm going to show you the pattern pieces in a minute and show you how I'm going to change them. All right, so this is now protected. So now you can sew with it and it's not going to stretch out, because you can see here it still has some give, but it's protected from stretching out of shape. So I would put that on the public side, and to make the top that I had on now, I cut 2 of everything, and I sewed the shoulder seams, and then I sewed the back to the front on the shoulders for the lining and for the top, and then I sewed around the whole neckline, and I understitched the whole neckline so it would be nice. And then I also did the same thing with the armholes. And the cool thing about this is, because it's open in the front, meaning it's not a one-piece front, you can pull the fronts through the shoulder out the back to turn it right side out. So it's very easy to finish armholes and neckline edge when you've got an open front or like a right and left side. So that was very easy for me to do. All right, so stay tape. All right, so let's look at my pattern pieces now, and I want to just show you some things on how I'm going to tweak it. Let me just make my my exposure a little less bright. I think that's better. Yeah, I think that's better. All right, so all right, so here's my back, and the one thing, all right, so this is my back piece and my front piece. The one thing that I want to change on my pattern, there's really 2 things I want to change on my pattern. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten the shoulder up at the top a little bit. I want to pick this up a little bit, because I think if it was up a little bit higher, then it will lay nicer on me. So you can see that. And also if I pick it up a little higher, the armhole was a little bit low. So I'm going to actually cut some of this off to pick up the neckline. Let me just see here. BMAC1 says, ooh, sorry, I have to go. Drat will pick it up on the replay. Thanks, Jen. Oh, well, thank you for watching. I just want to say I really appreciate everybody who has taken the time to, you know, tune in and follow me. This whole Facebook thing has really thrown me for a loop, because I'm really worried that I've lost all the content of my group, like all my live streams and everything. A lot of those are not backed up because it takes a tremendous amount of space on a hard drive to save all of those videos. So sometimes I did record them, but sometimes I didn't. And then all the posts and all your posts and all your comments and pictures and everything, I'm really kind of sad, because I think I may have lost that. But we'll see. All right, so if I pinch this, like if I pick this up, and I did this before I came on camera, I really feel like I almost have to take 3/4 of an inch off the front and the back to get the neckline up where I don't have a cleavage problem. And then you can see, you can see here too, if I turn this way, it picks up under my arm too. Because I think this armhole, if you look at this back armhole, this is a really long back armhole. Okay, this is what came right off my Ditto form. And again, for a body double, I can't say enough about how close this is to me. You know, and especially during a time when I'm losing weight and I'm getting in better shape, it really has made making a top like this so much easier. So what I'm going to do here, this is my armhole, and I really feel like what I want to do is just chop off about 3/4 of an inch. So let me just draw that right here. Okay, so if I chop that off, and I'm just going to chop it off, I'm going to go ahead and just be brave here. Okay, that doesn't leave me with very much shape to curve, you know, to get around my shoulder to my neckline. So I'm also going to reshape that a little bit. Maybe something like that. I want to keep this square, so it'll just come straight across, and then I think I'm just going to my ruler. See what I'm doing? I'm just going to make a nice shape here with my ruler. All right, and then I'm going to cut that off. All right, so that's going to fix my back. And then in the front, I'm also going to trim off 3/4 of an inch. Oops. Make sure. Yep. And I'm just going to cut that off. All right, so I think that's going to pick up. It's going to pick up my shoulder, so I'm happier about that. And I think I just want to see here. Yeah, I think that that's going to be enough. I was going to fill this in a little bit too, but I think just by picking it up, it's going to fix that. So now we've got. Let's pin this together. So here's my front. I'm just going to line up my dart allowances. I'm going to pin those together. And let's just check the shape of this now. I'm just going to mark my seam allowance here. I'll just mark it on here. Okay. All right, so let's pin that together. All right, so that's the shape. I'm going to turn it around. My armhole, you can see it has a nice smooth transition, so my armhole is fine. I'm not really, this here, I don't really love the way that's lining up. I mean, it works, but it's, like if I were to sew this together, so let me just put it like this and pin it on that 1/2 inch. And then fold it back. Okay, you can see that my seam allowances aren't really making it over. I'd really like those to line up so I can catch that edge in the back edge, if that makes sense to you. See how that really isn't lining up perfectly? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little bit of paper, like literally. I can just use this scrap. Let me just tape. This is just like fine tuning now. And then I'll also put a little piece of paper over here. I just want to make sure that the shoulder seam allowances are long enough here. So let me pin that back together. All right, so then if I were to fold that, like right on the, like sew it like I was sewing it right to the back, then what I can do is I can let me cut some of this away here. See, I want it to be like that. Can you see the difference? How now it will match right up. This is something that happens when you're creating your own pattern, like some of these fine details in terms of getting the pieces to line up. All right, so see now, I'm happy with the transition of that because it lines right up going around the corner to the back. Now, does everybody understand that? I know it seems like a little natty thing, but you know, I think that really just makes a better shape. So when you go to finish those edges, everything here will line up. So that takes care of that. So now I know my shoulders are good. And then the other thing I want to check here is my side seams. When I went to put this together, see how the side seams are not fabulous? And I thought they were good, but see how my front is sort of angling down and my back is going straight across. Can you see what I'm talking about? Let me color it in. So basically this is all extra fabric in the back that the front doesn't meet up with. See? So my back side seam is a little bit longer than my front. So again, I want to fix that, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add to the back. I don't want to shorten the back to match the front. I want to add to the front. So I'm going to put this tape here, and then I'm going to turn it upside down, and I'm just going to right on the edge, I'm just going to cut that so it matches. And then I can just sort of do this in the front. So see, now I've got side seams that match up perfectly. Okay, I've added that little triangle. So that trues up that part of the pattern. And then, let me just see here. Okay, so I lifted it up and I fixed the side seam issue I had. So now I think, I think everything else about this is working out nicely. So now I've got a pattern that I can cut out. Let me show you what my back pieces look like. All right, I was gonna drape the bottom pieces on my ditto form, but some things are just easier to do flat. So the way I created my Well, first of all, the way I created my back piece was the same way I created my front piece. I literally just, let me just show you. Switch over to this. So I took a piece of muslin and I lined it up with my center back, you know, and I just pinned it on. You can see doing a back is pretty easy compared to the front. But basically I just pinned it down the pins. I just pinned it to my center back like this. And then I just wrapped the fabric around to meet the side seam. You know, I just pinned it in place. Really, that's how I got my back. It was very easy. You know, and I just marked where I wanted my armhole to be. And I wanted it to be a little bit in because it's a sleeveless top, so I didn't have it come all the way out to the, you know, where I would put in a seam for an armhole if I had a sleeve. So I moved it in a little bit. And that's how I created the back piece. Mom still is here. She says, greeting to the booby slayer. Still loving it. Tuned in and mesmerized. I love you. Oh, and then let me just see. Skitty's jar says, can you put a sleeve on this? I would not put a sleeve on this for the reason that this is way back there, but in the future, especially now that it's going to be getting colder, I will be draping a top so I can make an armhole to do a sleeve. So on another top I will be adding a sleeve. I envision wearing this with like a cardigan over it in the fall and winter because I always get hot, and I like to have things that I can layer and take off sleeves when I get overheated. So I'm not going to add sleeves to this, but I will eventually follow my, you know, my cover that I made where my, you know, this is right where I would put a armhole to create a sleeve. So I will be playing with that in the future. But I just wanted to show you, very easy to drape your back. One piece back, very easy. So I did that. Then, to make the, let me just go back to my other view here. All right, so then to make the back, let's start with that. What I did was I basically created a rectangle, and then I created the top to agree with the slope, a little bit of the slope of the shape. Okay. And then I started out, and you can see here, I started out with basically an A-line rectangle, and then I slashed it near the center so I could make more ease there. And then I also added some ease on the side. So I added half the ease I wanted here and the other half on the side. And the way it fits me, I think I'm going to cut some of this side ease off because it wings out a little bit on the sides. I mean, not too terrible, but I think I'm going to get rid of a little bit of it, of this right here. But you can see this is really easy just to, you know, draw the shape and then create it. So that's how I got the back. And then in the front, to get the front, what I did was I pinned my darts shut. Let me use, I'm going to use the one that I did before I cut out my darts. So to create the lower piece for the front, I pinned all these darts shut. Because when you sew the bottom to the bottom piece to the top, you have to have, you know, the finished size. So just shut these. All right, my triple darts. And then I also marked my center front line. So can you see right here, this is my center front line. Let me make it dark blue so you can see. Okay, so that's where it overlaps. So when we go to create our lower piece, we don't want to include this fabric in that measurement because this is where it overlaps. So what I did was, I did the exact same thing. I started out with a rectangle, okay, so it lines up like this, and you can see that it matches across, okay, and then just to make it a little bit fuller, I again added a little bit of ease. I slashed it and spread it here, just so it's not clinging on my tummy. All right, so that's how I created the lower pieces for this top. So it's very, I mean, this is just so easy. It was just easier to do this than drape it. Not that I wouldn't drape something in the future, but all right, so that's how I created that. And again, it's really important not to include this overlapped area in your measurement when you make the bottom. Okay, let me just see here. All right, does anybody have any questions about anything? I'm loving this so much. I think I'm going to take the time to take it apart and just shorten the shoulders, because if I do that, I can wear it without fussing with it. And then I'll make another one. But this rayon challis is so nice and comfortable, and having the two layers, because it's, you know, it's lined. It's very comfortable, it's easy to wear, and I think it'll make a great transition piece from, you know, from summer to fall. So I'm super excited. Oh, my husband is in here looking at my camera. He can look at it. All right, so I mean, basically that's really all I wanted to cover today. If you have any questions about making this kind of top, if you guys want to try it and you need help with the steps, please post your comments below in the video, and I will help you. If you want to see what I'm doing, like my behind the scenes photos and things like that, I'm posting them on my Instagram. So you can follow me at JStern Designs on Instagram. And if you like this video, make sure you click the little like button and subscribe, because then you'll get notified every time I upload a new video. So I just want to remind people about that. And also I want to thank everybody for finding me on YouTube, because we were so jostled along. So anyway, that's my report for today. I hope you guys have a really nice weekend, and I will see you next week for Fab Fit Friday right here on my YouTube channel. Brand new topic because this is finished, but maybe I'll be sporting my improved fit. So I'll fix the things I shared with you, and then I'll be wearing it, and then I won't have any cleavage, and I'll be happy. So I'll see you guys next week. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will
answer some questions in the chat.
I did, honey. Okay. All right, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.